This is the brand new Selkirk Luxx Control Air Paddle. It's a thick paddle at 20 millimeters, but its edgeless design and aerodynamic throat hole still gives it a manageable swing weight that's lower than other paddles that are thinner but have edge guards. The Luxx is essentially the production version of the Selkirk Labs 003. If you're unfamiliar with Selkirk Labs, it's Selkirk's way of letting customers demo prototype paddles they've been working on and provide feedback. Eventually, they take that to create an official release for a paddle. For example, the Labs 002 eventually became the Vanguard Power Air, and now the Labs 003 has become the Luxx Control Air. If you're not familiar with the 003, it's known as a really great control paddle that has good touch and great spin. Just like the Luxx, it has the throat hole and an edgeless design, which makes the paddle maneuverable at the net despite being 20 millimeters. That thick core gives the ball more dwell time on contact with the paddle face, allowing you to absorb more power on impact. The main complaints people have with the paddle are the below average sweet spot, the stability, and funny enough, how soft the paddle is because it is difficult to put away shots. But many people have alleviated these issues with lead tape setups. The extra perimeter weighting adds in more power, expands the sweet spot, and improves the stability, while still allowing the paddle to retain good touch and control, making it a very solid control paddle option in the market. Compared to the 002 and Power Air, the biggest difference is obviously that those are meant to have more pop and power. They have a 13mm core compared to the 20mm of the other two, which gives the paddle a stiffer feel where balls come off the paddle face much quicker. Spin is comparable between all the models in my opinion, but the sweet spot on the 003 is slightly better, and the biggest advantage of the 003 over the Power models is how nice shots felt off the paddle face. There's a more solid feel in contact, whereas on the 002 and Power Air, the feedback can be a bit jarring, especially on off-center shots. Like the 002 and Power Air, the 003 and Luxx also come in the same shape options: the elongated Invicta, standard shape Epic, and the short handle S2. The Invicta grants the most reach and power on drives, while the Epic and S2 shapes are more forgiving with wider sweet spots. Personally, I'm a bigger fan of the Invicta shape, so most of my time with these paddles has been with that shape. One improvement that the 003 and Luxx do have though, is that their Invicta shape now comes in a longer handle at 5.35 inches, which allows more people to comfortably use two hands for their backhands. Previously with the Power Air, the Invicta's handle was only 5.25 inches, and combined with a wider taper at the throat, it was at an uncomfortable spot for most people to rest both of their hands. As for the differences between the 003 and the Luxx, there honestly aren't that many in my opinion. Cosmetically, with the Luxx, Selkirk has upgraded the color scheme where you can choose from blue, red, and gold. As for other changes, I find them to be very minor. The surface has now changed to a fluoric carbon fiber surface, though I personally didn't find there to be noticeable differences in the spin when I play. Side by side, the Luxx is a bit heavier to swing, which contributed to a bit more power and stability, and gave minor improvements to the sweet spot. But the downsides of the paddle are pretty much the same as the 003. The Luxx is still a paddle that really needs lead tape to bring out its full potential. Even though it did provide a bit more power and stability out of the box, I felt that it was still lacking overall. The setup I personally used was having 0.2 ounces of lead tape on each side, from the throat up the sides of the paddle, and an overgrip, which brought the total weight of mine to be 8.4 ounces. That said, the Luxx is still a solid control paddle option that's easy to recommend if you are a fan of the 003. Even if it is virtually the same paddle with some minor upgrades, the price of the 003 is $333, while the Luxx is retailing for $249, so you can get it at a cheaper price. I will say that there are other control paddles from other brands on the market that are available at a cheaper price point, even ones that are edgeless too. That said, the Luxx does have that unique feel because of its edgeless design combined with the 20mm core. I do think it still is worth checking out if you are interested in a control paddle despite the higher price point, since it is a paddle from Selkirk, which is an established brand that also has a good warranty.
Are you here tonight?